This week, Bobby, Michelle, and myself sit down to discuss a Constantine sequel. We're also going to talk about House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, all that and more coming up next on Flicker Effect, episode 417. Hey.
Hey guys, here we are again. Another week in the book. So,
The book.
I don't know. Did you guys do anything fun this weekend? I mean, last weekend we talked about you guys going to Dragon Con. Any good things going on this weekend? This past weekend?
Nothing exciting, I think, to report from us
Really?
anyway. Now,
Yard work.
yard work happened.
Yard work.
No.
We watched from afar on social media as various breweries had Oktoberfest festivities and stuff that we didn't go to. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
so is that a normal thing that you would do? Go to Oktoberfest?
I
Or-
say that like that's a big thing for us. I mean, it would be fun to go. We've been before.
Do a few. I mean, it's not out of the norm, but yeah.
Right.
And there's more people are, there's another one. There's a couple more this weekend, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good. Sometimes
I mean,
you just
I
gotta
guess
stay
I-
home and do yard work.
Well, I guess if you don't have someone doing it for you and you got to do it yourself, then sure, you don't want it to get out of control. But I've always found that if I can pay someone to do it, then that's my preferred way. I don't know.
We don't disagree
The
with that.
older I'm getting, the more I'm like, yep, you know what? I don't have to do this. I can pay someone to do this.
I can pay somebody with a much younger back and legs to do
Right?
absolutely
Right?
all of this. Yeah.
Now, some people enjoy doing yard work and find pleasure in it and relaxing because they're taking care of their home and property, and that's great. But I guess I've never been that way, just because I think I grew up with a fair share amount of chores, and so it always felt like I was doing something I didn't want to be doing when there was other things I could be doing. So it always felt like a punishment. So
Right.
for me now to be in my later stages to do that thing, I think I would not want to do it. And so I could easily imagine myself saying, here, guys, here's some money to do the yard, and I'm going to go in and watch football, or I'm going to go in and watch some series I need to catch up
Yeah.
on. So,
Right.
I think so much, at least for me, it comes down to the weather. If the weather is nice, I actually love doing yard work and gardening and doing stuff like that. But
when
that's
is the
like-
weather nice?
I was gonna say
Florida?
like that's like 6 whole weeks out of the year here in Florida where I'm
Yeah.
like,
We have a.
"Hey."
I'll come in Florida's defense a little bit. I mean, we
Okay.
do. I'm not saying you're exaggerating on the amount of time, Michelle. I mean, yeah, 6 weeks is somewhat accurate, but I mean,
maybe 8.
basically, our winter is
Yeah,
pretty nice. Like,
it is.
I'm not saying as someone who keeps,
Does the
shouting
humidity disappear?
I wouldn't say disappears, but it's better.
It lessens significantly. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
That'll be the
Anyway.
time that I'll come and visit and go to Disney World then.
You
Oh,
should.
absolutely.
6
If
week
you-
time
Very
frame.
much should.
When you start saying and mentioning, okay, I'm going to do it, we will definitely be.
MegaCon
Asking you
tickets
to
just
go
went on sale
in the winter.
yesterday.
Oh, is that
MegaCon.
during the time that it's nice weather?
It was
MegaCon?
actually pretty nice during that time. It's like March. When is MegaCon?
It's in May.
It is nice. Though.
Okay.
I mean, there's some humidity, but I will say, like, it's. I don't
For
know,
sure it's
it's
in May.
nice. Yeah. Say MegaCon tickets went on sale yesterday.
Gotcha. Okay. I
The
thought the
4-day
two went together. You were just sort of making a statement
I'm
about.
just saying, the
MegaCon
4-day
and
pass is only like $129, Bobby. That's cheap.
That is cheap.
I
I'll
mean,
give
for
you that.
4
That's
days
not
for
a
like
bad
all
price.
access to MegaCon, you know.
It was in May. It's in like very late March, early April now.
Okay. See, that's
They've-
a great time to come. Actually,
they've
That's
moved it around a
lovely
lot.
Time.
See, and that's the thing though. You say that, and that's actually a time where that's hit or miss. A lot of times it is lovely then, and a lot of times it may not be, depending on the year. I find.
I think the downside of that time of year in Orlando, at least, is there's a lot of spring breakers. The airport is a little bit
Mm.
crazy. That a little more crazy than it usually is at that time. There's a lot of spring break happening. Anyways,
Right.
we're really getting off
That's true.
topic.
We got no topic.
Yeah,
Just
there's
chatting.
we can segue into it since I guess we do have some things to talk about tonight, as David mentioned at the top of the show. And one of those things is that Constantine, out of nowhere, I swear, if someone had this on their
Totally.
bingo card, give them all the money because who thought that this would be the announcement that would come out at any given time? I mean, granted,
1000%.
Keanu has been on the uprise, and we got a Matrix sequel. Who would ever thought that was going to happen? And then they decided to double down and on some of his old franchises and say, "Let's give Constantine another go round." And it's interesting because it's not just like that. It's just Keanu Reeves. It also reunites him with the director Francis Lawrence, and then Akiva Goldsmith is writing the script. So what makes part of
Yeah.
this interesting is that J.J. Abrams had a series that he was going to do for Constantine on HBO Max. That same time this was announced, that got shelved, but because he's
Oh,
probably was doing something on the Constantine character, he's credited as a producer with Bad Robot with this Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves. So I doubt he'll probably have actual involvement in it, but because of the projects, he's getting
the
a producer
timing
credit.
of it
So
all is a little
yeah,
sus.
yeah,
Little sus.
yeah, exactly. So um, you know, I'll say for my part, when that first movie came out, I had no real perception of the character of Constantine. I think I only knew that he was a comic book character just because of it coming out and they were saying it was based on a comic, but I had no knowledge of Constantine at that time. So what I saw of Keanu to me represented the character. And it wasn't until later that I saw what the Constantine character was, the basis of him and how he was in the comics and everything. I was like, oh well, that's really different. But I really enjoyed the Constantine movie as a whole. So um, it's if you fast forward, and then there was a version of Constantine that came out on NBC that didn't even quite last a season with
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ryan, who was more closer to the look and feel of the character from the comics, and that character did end up going and finding its way into Legends of Tomorrow
Right.
on the CW within their DC universe. So the character has lived on, and then you've also got animation shorts for it and a series that was or a couple movies I think for them. So now I've kind of gotten used to this actual closer to comic book version of the character. So when this was announced, I was kind of like, huh, is this what I want to see now? Now I know what the character is like from the comics,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if this is the same version I want to see portrayed. So I have very mixed feelings, honestly, about the announcement. I love Keanu, and I love seeing him. And like I said, I really enjoyed the movie when I saw it at the time. But now, with more knowledge, it's kind of like a tricky thing in terms of will I be able to settle back into this world in which Keanu was a part of, and get back into that vibe of the portrayal of John Constantine compared to what I've come to know him as. So I'm on the fence, but I don't know. David, I don't even know. Had you? Is this a movie that you one have seen and two did you like it?
I have seen it, I think once. Um,
Okay.
what was that?
No, I'm with you. Like I've
Oh,
seen
okay.
it once when it
Um,
first came out, I
Mm.
think.
yeah, and that's not even when it first came out.
I was just
I saw it
saying.
on video.
Oh, okay.
A
So not
bit
even in the theater.
after. No, not in the theater.
I
It
think I
was
actually rented a DVD of it, like from Blockbuster.
Really?
Like I think I
What?
legitimately rented it either from
Wow.
Blockbuster
That
or I
sounds so
rented
old when you say that.
or
yeah.
I can't
or I
believe that
rented
movie's that
it
old.
from Netflix and it came in the mail. I think that might have been it actually. I think it might have been a
Okay.
Netflix disc.
Do you know how old it is, Bobby? You remember when the first one came out?
I've got it up right now.
No, let me look. I got the
It
article
came
here,
out
so I
2005, man.
Oh,
Wow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It's quite a long. I mean, I say it's quite a long time to wait for a sequel, and I know we just came off Top Gun Maverick, but anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It puts it in perspective.
yeah.
But in all honesty,
But
you could easily see this movie not coming out until 2025, which would make it what 20 years old by that time when it
right,
would come out.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
That's. I mean, I would say that's probably the most likely scenario. Yeah, 2025.
Yeah.
I doubt it'd come out
Mm,
before then, unless they're a
mm,
lot farther along than we realize.
Right. Maybe 2024,
right.
but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw it
So
the
with
one
that in
time,
mind, yeah, how do
and
you feel?
I, I liked it, but I mean, like hearing about this, it's like I'm indifferent. Like I love Keanu Reeves. You know, it's I'm happy for him that he's had such a resurgence of his career, and he's so popular
Yeah,
right now, and it seems like he could probably do almost anything he wants at this point. I mean, to an extent, you know, but
pretty close.
pretty close. But I don't know. I hear about this, and it's been so long, and this is a movie for me again that I've only seen like one time. Like I'm not like I wasn't like, oh wow, that's exciting or pumped about it. I was just kind of like, okay, all right, fine.
Mm,
Like it, you know. I think Yasha said, who unfortunately isn't here tonight, but I think he said like in our chat, it just seems like a oh Keanu is big right now, so let's dig up anything he's done in the past and see if we can make a sequel of it. And
yeah.
you know, I don't know if
Cash
that's the
grab.
case. And I mean, in a way, who cares if it's a good movie? I don't care why they're doing it,
Sure.
but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of indifferent on it. I like this kind of movie. I mean, you know, this in a way, in a lot of ways, you would think Constantine, if you know anything about the kind of stuff I like, this is kind of right up my alley.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I need to. It's been a while since I have seen Constantine. I probably should give it a nice rewatch, and
I was
maybe
just
I'd be more pumped.
I was just about to say, like, honestly, I mean, I think again, like, I think I Netflix DVD'd it to through the mail, which ages me a lot. But I think I literally watched it. I remember I watched it at home on a TV,
Mm,
but it was not like it was on HBO or something like that. It was like I think I got it through the mail on a DVD, and yeah, like I remember seeing it and enjoying it, but at the same time, like sitting here right now, I'm going, I don't think I could tell you a lot about it. I remember kind of watching it, and I remember feeling like, yeah, that was enjoyable, and that was about it. So yeah, this kind of does feel like a cash grab. Like, oh, Keanu's hot right now. Like he really can do no
mm,
wrong. Let's find some other projects we could put him into, reboot anything that might have done somewhat well, and it does kind of feel that way. But at the same time, like so what? Who cares? you
yeah.
know, like let Keanu do whatever they want to do or he wants to do or whatever, you know. Yeah, I think it's fine. So I need to rewatch it. Maybe David and I need to do a Constantine rewatch.
Yeah.
Maybe we could time it and Bobby can do a rewatch. We can all watch it one night and be like, so
Hmm.
that was surprising. and get our thoughts on it because yeah, like it would feel almost like watching it for the first time almost, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I
For the
would
most
almost
part.
want to say I've seen it twice. I don't
Really?
recall because I think I really enjoyed it in the theater and then watched it one other time when it was like on HBO or something like that. So I definitely would want to rewatch it again to see if that feeling still permeates. Uh, but I do recall it being solid for me and that I did like it at the time. Um, I do, and then the conversation around it was like, I think for hardcore Constantine fans, obviously there was the complaints about how he didn't look like the character, but I think one of the other complaints was that in the occult and the magic and stuff that they did, while it was good, they didn't push it to a further boundary that it could
Right.
have done. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing that I would look forward to in this sequel is that in this day and age, they would push it a lot harder and a lot farther with it. So that would be the one thing I would really look towards for the sequel.
I watched a couple of the episodes they did on I think what was it NBC that did the show, and then that
Yeah. Uh huh.
actor went on to the CW's Legends of Tomorrow, and I watched the whole
Yeah.
first season of Legends of Tomorrow. I think I even watched some of the second season, and like I remember really enjoying that version of the character. Like I was like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
this is cool. And I remember in the NBC show, it definitely got kind of a little bit into the occult stuff, and I was like, ooh, this is pretty fascinating, actually. Like I was very down with it. I mean, it's NBC; they only go so far, but it was
Yeah.
what little you got. I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, I really enjoy that character. So, I mean, if this sequel decides to kind of go more towards what is in the comics, I think it could be pretty decent. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
And I think you're right. I think they will try to at least maybe pull from some more of the comic stuff, and they don't have any type of. Um, they're not beholden to make it in the DCEU. It's just
Right.
sort of like a Joker movie or whatever. It's its own thing. It doesn't have to
Right.
be in that universe, so they can still mess around and do whatever they want. And they have a decent amount of things that they can look at to be reference material. Like I said, there's WB animation movies and shorts with the character as well that are really done
Mm-hmm.
well and get a good have a good grasp on the character. And you could also just look in recent times, though the character is female, that character appears in The Sandman as Joanna Constantine. So there's you see that character in the way that it is, that even though it's female, it's still an essence of what John kind of boils down to as a character.
Right.
So yeah, I think they could definitely make a good sequel here, and we are in the Keanu Sans, if it's called that. I don't know if I've heard it, but
Don't think I've
it's
ever
definitely
heard it,
that
but
thing because I haven't. I was thinking while you guys were talking, I don't know if I can think of in recent memory of any movie that he's done that's come out that's been bad since his sort of resurgence. I guess maybe some people would debate that the last Matrix movie wasn't great, but I mean, in terms of just some of the other stuff, I would say that he really hasn't um, missed in terms of uh, being entertaining and done for people, whether he's showed up in cameos and stuff or just had his own movie of something. He seems like he's
mm,
picking the right things for himself right now.
thought we were in the Brendan Fraser Renaissance right now.
The
Okay.
Fraser Sans. I
That's
don't
more
know.
like
Renaissance.
I
Well,
would say I would call that more of a budding resurgence.
It
research.
is
That's
a
Yeah,
resurgence.
but it's not
exactly.
quite Renaissance level yet.
Right.
I mean,
That's true. That
Not
is
yet.
true. That's true. I will have to agree with that.
Not yet. I hate. Speaking of which, I kind of hate some of those articles I've seen where it's like Brendan Fraser is back, and they talk about him and his performance in The Whale that'll be out.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, where you guys been? He was in a movie last year, a Steven Soderbergh movie that came out on HBO Max that
Well, he's
was
been on a
really
TV
pretty
show for the
good.
last 3 years, hasn't
Well,
he?
he was,
He's been on.
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
like
mostly his
he's
voice
been.
in Doom Patrol. You see him every now and then
But
as
I
a
thought he was
human,
also on
but
like
he's
what is
playing
it,
Mr.
Yellowstone or something too, right?
I don't think I'm not
Maybe
sure. I don't
something
watch Yellowstone,
else.
but I
Maybe
don't
it's
know
something
for
else.
sure if that's the case. But
But
he's
no, he's
definitely
been
still
doing
been doing
stuff.
stuff within the
Yeah.
last few years. So it's kind of like, well, where you guys been? I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
it just makes for a better title article if it just says that he's back, kind of thing. But
yeah.
um, yeah,
Anyway.
the one other thing I'll say is just that at this point, I honestly believe that Keanu could probably get away with doing a Speed 3 or 4 3, and people would probably eat it up at this
Three.
point and go
It's
him
been
and
long enough.
Sandra
Yeah,
Bullock. Yeah, I
totally.
could see it.
Oh, you could absolutely. You're right. You can make another speed film right now. It's been
Yeah,
long enough that I think it
I
would get a
and I'll be honest, I would be down for seeing that.
see,
absolute.
just ride
I
that
would be
Top
so down
Gun.
for that. Like the second movie, even though it didn't have him in it, was for an action film, it was all right. It obviously
Yeah.
wasn't as good as the first film, but
Yeah.
man, to see Keanu come back for a Speed 3, oh, I would be
Him
very
and
okay
Sandra.
with. I would
Yeah.
be very down with that.
You're almost a little too pumped.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah,
I would be
well,
okay
we
with
put it
that.
out there in the universe. Let's see if it comes back to us. I'm
Yeah.
sure it might. Anything's
I would
possible.
not
It
be
is Hollywood.
shocked if
Yeah,
that
no,
announcement came out tomorrow. I don't even know how much I'd react to be like, oh, there it is.
right.
I mean,
Exactly.
I'm all right. I'm all right with that. That happened. Anyway,
So the other thing, I guess, well, if there's nothing else about that, we can move into the other thing that we mentioned, and that's the House of the Dragon. I said it right.
House of the Dragon. You almost said
I,
House of Dragons.
I almost did. I almost did. I caught myself.
House of
What are we into?
Targaryen.
We're in our what, fifth week? We just finished the
We
fifth
just finished our fifth
episode.
episode. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first.
We're
First.
halfway there, right? It's
Yeah.
10, so.
We've done this.
So
One era is done now. Specific time
right
frame.
now, the show is doing phenomenally. I mean, I think the it seems to increase week to week on its ratings, and I think the last thing I heard was maybe this past episode was at 28 million or something like that viewed. So it's just
That's
insane numbers.
impressive.
It's
Holy
really
crap.
impressive. Yeah. Yeah,
Dang.
especially when you consider, I think the final season of Game of Thrones was either in the 30 millions, like high 30s or somewhere around there. So this is doing super well for HBO.
With zero
And
drop off or anything.
yeah, yeah.
It's nuts.
No,
It's
it is
insane.
nuts. It's nuts. Which is why I'm curious as to what you guys think about the fact that we know, but I don't know if everyone that's watching this show knows that next week we'll experience a time jump. And so, with that time jump, the two main female characters in the show, um, that we will be going from younger age to completely different actresses playing those characters. So that's what Allison and Vanera.
Yeah.
So Rhaenyra, I always call her Vanera. I think that's because of the queen or the princess, queen, princess, or whatever her name. But I am so curious as to how the world at large will perceive this jump, because the two actresses that we've had so far with those characters have been doing such a phenomenal job that it's going to be hard to see them go, because they've just been really killing it week to week, and they're almost like your anchors to the show that you see them through. So um, they've given us a short episode, not an episode, but like a little snippet of next week's episode that shows those characters there that are older. And one of the characters, for Alicent, the new actress that's going to be playing that character in the older version, is Olivia Cook. And then for the Rhaenyra character, the actress playing her, let me see if I have her name. I think I had it
It's
somewhere
Emma,
here.
Emma
Emma
Darcy.
Darcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darcy.
I guess you just say
Uh,
Darcy or
Darcy.
Darcy or.
Darcy. I think it's
Darcy.
Darcy. If it's French.
Huh. Okay.
Oh,
So,
okay.
um, I'm curious. Did Michelle? Did you watch the little snippet for next week to see
Yeah,
these
I did.
actresses?
I did, and I knew because of Olivia Cook's, because I knew she was cast as the role for the older version of the character she plays. I knew that there was going to be a time jump, and I was just kind of waiting for when it was going to happen.
Hmm.
Now, unfortunately, I never read the book that this is all based off of, but I did kind of go down a little bit of a TikTok rabbit hole the other day in people that have read the book and are watching the show and are interested in what's happening. And it seems to be a consensus from what I can see that everybody's going, it might feel jarring to some people that they're jumping right now in the middle of the season to the future, but it makes sense because having read the book, they're all saying there's no way that the younger version timeline could have stretched a full season. People would get bored and lose interest. There's not enough meat to promote a full season of them in the younger versions. And I'm gonna have to go with it because I'm like, okay, well, if this many people on TikTok are saying, I'm not that TikTok's infallible or anything, but the people that have read the book, in my opinion, if you've read the book and you can sit there and say, yeah, actually, there's not enough there to make a full season in that time frame. They're like, now could there be flashbacks? Sure. If it goes,
Yeah.
continues on, they're like, sure, there could be some flashbacks maybe for like a specific moment or a conversation that we might not see, but overall, there's not enough there to give a person a full season and feel fulfilled in that season in that time frame. So a lot of people that have read the book have said it makes good sense. This is a great point to move forward and to leap into the next phase. And they said it's also good because what little things that are interesting that happen in those years, they're like it'll make for good flashback, jump back things to converse upon. And if you think about
Is
the way
that in the books though? Do they flash back at points in the books from what
no,
you
it's
understand?
apparently it's a continuous timeline in the book. Like it
Hmm.
just goes.
Interesting. So this would be the creator, the showrunners creating something that wasn't
Correct.
there for the sake of
Correct.
the show, which I can honestly see them doing because of how popular the younger actresses are, and that maybe in a second season,
Yeah.
based on what they're responding to from this season, they might start writing at least a couple episodes where they flash
Right.
back because they want to use these actresses again.
And it might not even be a full episode. I mean, we look
Right.
at if you look at the original Game of Thrones series, there's a couple times that they would make flashbacks and jump back in time and have younger versions of certain characters play out a certain scene or two. So it would behoove the showrunners to kind of extend that possibly into a season 2 where for the sake of the story they might have to throw in a key plot point to kind of keep us interested in it. And
Yeah.
I think it's smart. Like from what I'm seeing again on, book talk and Game of Thrones book talk and what those people know that have read the books, that seems to be the consensus, and it seems to be that everybody's going, nope, it's fine. Really, you're not. There's a few things, but really nothing that's like, you know, major, like really solid, interesting. They're like, you've really gotten the main point of each character and what's driving them and kind of how things are going. So they're agreeing that this is a good time to switch over. So I'm curious. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season to see continuation of their stories. And I think that two actresses that they've cast look great. And I'm familiar with Olivia Cole's work. I'm unfortunately not very familiar with the
Cook.
other actresses'
Cook,
work.
yeah. Olivia
Yeah,
Cook.
Olivia Cook. I'm familiar with her work, but I'm not so much with the other actress. But they
Yeah.
they look good from what I can see. Again, I guess it'll all just have to wait till Sunday night.
Yeah, and Olivia Cook, man, I've seen just that snippet that they showed after the episode of last week, and she's a dead ringer for the younger version of herself in
Yeah,
terms
she
of
looks really
how
good.
well they cast it. And I think I heard somewhere, I don't know if this is the case or not, but I had read somewhere or heard somewhere that they cast the older actresses first, and then they cast the younger actresses based on them casting the
And
older
that
actresses.
makes
So,
sense because if you want
yeah,
continued seasons, the people that they're going to have continued seasons with are the older versions. So
yeah.
it does make sense.
I don't have much to add. I don't know. Like, I love the show so far, but um, I don't know. I guess I don't think much about the time jump. I mean, we've already seen decent jumps in the show already. Now, this is
Yeah.
obviously going to be the biggest jump. I mean, 10 years, I believe, is the idea here. But yeah, the show's already been kind of jumping forward. It seems like, I mean, yeah, going into this, it was like, okay, at what point are they gonna use the new actresses? Not that I was like, man, I can't wait to get rid of the old ones. I was just kind of curious because it seemed like when the show started, a lot of people weren't really even sure. Like you would check the IMDb page, and even IMDb would be like, "Oh yeah, Olivia Cook is in 9 episodes," and then it would like change. It would go down. Oh, now no, she's gonna be an 8. Oh, she's gonna be at 7. I'm
Hmm.
like, does anybody know when they're gonna start? Like using the new actresses in these roles, like, and then it seemed like at some point everyone knew, okay, like it's gonna be 5 and 5,
Right.
at least for the season. Um,
It's a good way to keep us on our toes,
I
man.
mean, yeah, I guess like going to your original question, Bobby, like how will like the world react? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
considering the huge like viewership for this show, like how will the world react to like these
Exactly.
new actresses? I mean, it's so hard to say because I haven't seen much. I mean, I watched the after the episode, like coming next week kind of thing. That's all I saw. I have been scrolling through social media and I've seen like that there's like a couple clips at least
Hmm.
that are been released showing scenes with these two actresses, and I haven't really watched them. So I have the full confidence they're going to be great. I mean, it seems to me the show is basically based on casting these two actresses. So you know, I don't think it's going to be a hard sell for people to stay with the show, but you know, unless it's jarring. But I'd be very shocked if
Right.
it's jarring. I
Yeah. I
I don't know.
I'm
I
worried that it will be.
You think
really
so?
see, I think I
Yeah,
equate it to like The Crown, right? Like, you know,
sure.
you watch The Crown, you have 2 seasons with one actress and 2 seasons with another actress, and now we're about to have our third actress playing the Queen, and even then, like different actors playing Prince Philip and playing
But not
Charles and playing
mid-season.
right, but not mid season. But still, like I feel like if you're watching the show, if you're watching, you know, House of the Dragon, I feel like you kind of know this is going to be happening. And so I don't think any person that has zero knowledge of this is watching the show and then going, wait, what? You've got to be
I
kidding
don't know,
me.
Michelle.
I
With
don't know.
29 million people watching, I think that's a lot of general audience people that don't connect to social media or maybe even watch the stingers after the episode is over. I definitely think there's going to be some people that react to this in a jarring sort of way, especially because the younger actresses have built up so much goodwill
They have.
in terms of their performances. So if these new actresses that come in with these characters don't knock it out of the gate right in that same episode we get next week, I can already see people starting to nitpick at them and mess with them on social media because they don't feel like they're as good as the younger actresses. That's where I'm kind of more concerned is that they're, they're people are going to expect it to be perfect because they have a point of comparison, and so
Mhm.
now that's what they're going to do. They're going to compare and say, well, she doesn't sound right like how I would think that the
She doesn't
older
talk with the same
ready.
cadence, or yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Right.
I
People
think
will
that's where
forget
the
that as you
jarringness
age
will
10
come in.
years from being a 19-year-old to a 29-year-old, you're a completely different human being.
And
Oh, people
right,
will be
and but I think
completely. It'll be ridiculous.
Right.
Absolutely, I think we can all agree
yeah,
that
and
the
that's what I'm
complaints will be
thinking.
just
It's going to
stupid.
be,
But
Right.
yeah, I agree. That's all I'm saying. I think there's going to be some ridiculous complaints there, and I think
yeah,
that maybe if it would have been like Michelle said, yeah, people get older, so of course they're going to change. But I think that if this change had happened between season one and season two, it would be less jarring than for it to happen in the middle of the season after 5 episodes.
yeah.
So people have more time to reset their expectations over about a year of time between the season one ending and the season two beginning, that their mind could sort of settle into the idea that it's been a year for me since I've seen this show, and these characters have aged 10 years in between the gap of me
Right.
seeing the show and last.
So
But episode to episode it might feel a little off.
maybe they should have just done like 7 episodes for the season. Cut it and
Or
moved
ended
on
the
to.
season with the characters, a scene, sort of an end tag of the characters older. And so that prepares your mind for it. But I mean, I don't personally have an issue with it because, like we've all said, we know it's coming. We
Right.
knew we've been knowing that this was coming for a while. So my mind has had a chance to uh, acclimate to that idea. But I'm just so curious as to the people that don't know it's coming and how it's going to hit them and where the ridiculousness will start to come into with everything.
It makes me. I mean, my thought, and hear me out, because I like the
Mm.
younger actresses. But part of me wonders why. I mean, the two actresses that are about to take over are not like considerably like much older actresses.
Right.
Like, I mean, they're older for sure, but I would make the argument you could have used those two actresses and made them appear younger for those first 5 episodes,
Mm.
and then just use them the entire time. Again, I'm saying that, and I thought, what is it, Millie Alcock and Emily Carey
Hmm.
were great. Like, I will miss
Yeah.
them, but you know, it does it seems like a slightly odd choice to me, especially considering they're really, as far as I understand, the only two actresses or actors that are changing. Like the
Yeah.
rest of the cast is going to be completely unchanged. I mean, we're going to have the king's going to look a lot older, and
Right.
but
Maybe they should have done it after like the second episode. Maybe they should have done it earlier.
sooner. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think a lot of us thought they were. I mean, when you look at the
exactly.
promotion of the show, like I feel like these two new actresses were pretty prominently
Right.
featured, and I think I remember in social media a lot of people voicing the same thing I was thinking, which is, "Hey, when are we getting the new actresses?" Like,
Right.
nothing against
Hmm.
these two, but when is this happening? And yeah, we're finally getting it, but
Yeah, maybe it should have happened after the second or third episode instead of after the fifth.
yeah, I don't know. I
Maybe it's a
guess
little too late.
again,
We'll see.
I would make the argument you could have probably just used these two actresses the entire time and found a way to make them appear younger. It's not
Right.
like they're not that old. I don't think it would have been that difficult to do, and then you wouldn't be running into this issue. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like comparing it. You mentioned The Crown, like I agree with you. Again, I'm not gonna have a problem with this recast, but The Crown too. You're changing the entire cast, like from
Right.
two
True.
seasons to
Right.
two
Yeah.
seasons.
Yeah,
Here,
you're
it's
right.
like again, I could see an odd reaction because really these are the only two actors again that at least that I'm aware that are changing.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that.
I mean, I guess to be fair, we did get a change between. I sometimes I'm so upset at this show because the names are so hard to remember of
Yeah, the
everyone.
names can be difficult.
But
For
Yeah.
sure.
I think his name is Corliss. The
Oh yes,
So his daughter.
and the dog.
They
Yeah.
changed the actress in this episode. She was
Oh
older.
yeah,
she
because
did
they,
change.
to
they
when she was-
aged they
Yeah.
aged up so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
And she was so young,
She
yeah.
did change. Yeah, and she was so
Yeah.
young. So that was one change. And honestly, she looked like that version of that young girl grown up, kind of.
Yeah, she was-
So it didn't feel shocking, but yeah, definitely one change there. So I believe that outside of that, like you said, David, I think the other two are the
Yeah.
only ones that are changing. So
And I also think that's a lot easier to take because the first actress, that character is so much younger. I mean,
She's
Yeah.
like 7
Yeah.
years old.
or yeah, something.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I guess her
forget what it
brother
was.
was there too in a younger when they were at the
Yeah.
fight
Yeah, he
for
was,
the tournament.
yeah.
So he was younger too. So
Yeah. They all were, but they were.
And he's
very,
changing
very
too,
young.
right? That he is going to be a new actor.
See, I don't know.
I think
don't
he
know.
is. I thought I saw, well, like I said, when I was scrolling through social
Okay.
media and I saw a clip today and I didn't really watch it, but I saw some of it and that character's in it. I'm pretty sure that's a new actor that's
Because I
playing
will
him.
say the actor that's playing him in the wedding, for that age time,
Mm-hmm.
he has a very young face, like a very,
He
very
does.
young face. Even though he's clearly like 19 or 20, it's a very young face. So for him to age 10 years, they almost would need to get a different actor for him because
Well,
he
he is black,
He's a
so
baby face.
I could see him not cracking easily too. So there is that.
That is true. That is true. But that kid had a very youthful. That gentleman, that actor that got kid. I
Yeah.
say kid. He's not a kid. He's teen. He's a very young baby face. Like
So, yeah, there
it'd
was
be
a-
hard to age him up.
It is a different actor that's going to play.
Yeah.
The one that we just saw in this most recent episode, he's considered the young version of that character.
Right.
Young
Okay.
Sir Lenore Valerian.
Leno.
And then a new actor, Will Johnson, looks like he's taking over that role.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Cool. Well, yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
Oh no,
So-
sorry, I got the wrong. Not Will Johnson, somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it's a recast.
I think it would.
Okay.
I think it makes sense to me. Anyways.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got that to look forward to this Sunday. And yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, honestly, right now. There's She-Hulk that's tomorrow. Today was the premiere of Cassian Andor series. And we also have House of the Dragon. But another series that's
There's
been
so
out
much
for a
stuff
little
to
while
watch right
that-
now, man.
I feel like we
Yeah,
went through a
that
drought
hasn't-
of really having like maybe one or two
Oh, we
things to
did.
watch a week, and now it's like I have 9
Everything.
things to watch, and I have no time to watch
Yeah.
any of it.
I mean, we're behind now on She-Hulk by
oh,
3
we're
episodes.
so behind on 4 tonight.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, tomorrow.
by
Tomorrow
tomorrow,
another
yeah,
episode
you'll
will
be-
drop. So we'll
Yeah.
be 4 behind.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow night I'm watching
Yeah.
Andor.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah,
not
that's
watching
definitely
it
Yeah,
right now.
happening,
you
'cause-
got to figure there's Although tomorrow, if any episode of She-Hulk you would want to watch, it would be tomorrow's episode.
No, it's
But
gonna
But
wait.
it's gonna have to wait because I'm so far
yeah, I'm
behind
sure
on
it'll
it.
wait for
I'll
you
tell you right
guys. But
now.
that will be the interesting thing to see which gets more talked about, Andor or She-Hulk
I'm telling you
episode
right now, Andor is
5, I
what's
guess it
happening
is.
tomorrow. That is
But
happening.
anyway, sorry, Bobby, I cut you off.
No worries. But the other thing that we have going on concurrently with all those other things we just mentioned is Rings of Power.
Oh,
Um, Not quite talked about as much, but it is a
It's got a
point of
lot to compete
conversation.
against.
It
Yeah.
does. It
it
really
has a
does. But
it is up against a behemoth of a franchise.
yeah, I mean, it's a well-established franchise, like you just hinted at, Michelle. Is that it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but the comparison is nevertheless being made. And that main point of contention is that when I've seen the reviews and what a lot of people in general are saying about the show, is that for them, Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon is firing on all cylinders, while Rings of Power seems to be moving at a snail's pace and very slow with everything that's going on. So I'll just give my quick thoughts on it because we haven't actually all talked about it yet. Me and David sort of briefly talked about it, but
Yeah.
as a whole, not so much. So I felt like watching those first 3 episodes, and the fourth episode just aired last Friday.
Mhm.
you know, I can see where people were coming from, honestly. And everyone, no matter what they felt about the show, whether it was slow or not, everyone agreed that you could see where the money was spent in terms of the visuals. It's very lush, it's beautiful, it's bright and colorful. There's so much landscape that they film on, to the point where sometimes they linger on it just because they want to show you, what
Hmm.
they did and
Yeah.
where they filmed it. Um, but honestly, I found it not to be slow. And I think that was because for me, I'm not looking at it from the same standpoint of how I look at House of the Dragon, whereas there's a lot of political intrigue going on within that, and that show's going to do certain things that are going to be shocking or violent, but my mind doesn't go there when it comes to this Lord of the Rings world, this Tolkien universe. So I think what for me made me not feel that it was slow was that I was from the start intrigued by certain characters that pulled me into the show. And so being able to have good characters that are compelling and that give you something to be interested in, and understand what they're going through and the mystery of them, for me, I think that was enough to make me feel like the show had some meat and substance to it, and it wasn't just being slow for the sake of being slow. And from at this point, my favorite scenes for them to ever go to are the ones with Elron and I can't think of his name, the dwarf, but
The Prince Dwarf.
those two, yeah, are my favorite two characters that whenever they show them, I love seeing them, and him and his wife and everything. That's the dynamic I enjoy the most. But beyond that, I think that everyone, when they cut to these different things and places in Middle Earth, have an interesting story going on, to where I want to see what's going to happen. And I would say if there's one that I find the least interesting, that I don't kind of care for all that much, are the ones with Nori and the Harfoots. And that's mostly because, not because of the stranger that's within their midst, but it's because that character has a lot of tendencies that are similar to, which one is it? Pippin, the one that caused the most trouble in the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Um, I think that's why I hate when I see annoying characters on screen. That it's like if they just wouldn't do these annoying things, but it's part of their makeup. But I can also not like that. So sometimes that kind of makes me roll my eyes at stuff like that. But outside of that, there's so much to like in it. And even within this last episode, to me, it really felt like now we're starting to really kind of get moving. And I feel like these first 4 episodes aren't too far off the mark in terms of how I felt watching the first season of Game of Thrones. I never felt like the first season of Game of Thrones was the fastest moving thing of all time either. It felt like it took its time as well. So before it really started to get going, and I think maybe people have forgotten that a little bit, but I don't know. I've talked about it enough other than to say I really am enjoying the show, and I know it's something completely different than House of the Dragon, but I like it for what it is. And so I don't know, Michelle, have you had any feelings in terms of what you've seen so far from this series?
I feel like my feelings on Rings of Power kind of fluctuate with each episode a little bit.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned that the last episode, episode 4, I actually found myself kind of going, I was not that drawn in with episode 4.
I agree.
I was very kind of pulled back in ways. And I feel like of the episodes, that one actually it had almost this visual of cheapness to it at moments. And then other moments it was kind of interesting to watch, especially and I can't really think of the character's name, but basically the woman in the village who plays kind of like maybe not the midwife, she's kind of like a herbologist, and
Sure, I know who you're talking about.
her son who has the sharded blade,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in the old village. And some of those shots were interesting because the camera work was, non-cut, so it was all pretty seamless. I thought was done really well. But then other parts of it, I was just like, things just look kind of not as pristine as they had in the previous episodes. Overall, though, I'm enjoying the show. I am enjoying the show. And I get what people are like, oh, it's moving so slow. I think they're trying to unfold a whole nother aspect to this Tolkien world. And they're slowly trying to unravel what's happening and try to give you a chance to really let it envelop you, and the processes and the way the story is just kind of unfolding, chapter by chapter in a way. And it does take its time with it. I don't think it is slow. I think it's just taking its time to reveal where it's all going to end up at. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing when it comes to Lord of the Rings. Like, if the Game of Thrones was moving this way, I'd be like, what is going on? I would just be like, I'd be losing it. But I feel when it gets to this, it's just such a different type of high fantasy that I kind of go, it's okay. It's just a different way of telling the story, I think, when it comes to this world. But I am enjoying it, and I'm with you. There's certain storylines that I like better than others in this one already. I will say what I think is surprising to me, that I get so frustrated with the characters, honestly, is the Gladriel character. Like,
I could see that.
I think because for a character who is supposed to be as old as she is in this moment, she seems very young and naive and very tempestuous,
stubborn.
and just stubborn and headstrong. I'm going, but you're already like 300 years old right now. How have you not matured at all at this point? And then when I think about where she is 200 more years from that point, and we see her in in the Hobbit, and we see her in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I'm like, how did in the 200 years you matured like a lot, because in this you're like a really obnoxious early 20-year-old, and like she's just too headstrong sometimes. I'm just like, stop. You're not accomplishing anything, I think, in your tenacity in this situation. And so it frustrates me to think a character that's supposed to be the age that she is still so not mature. And I mean, it's weird to talk about elvish timelines and aging and stuff, but yeah, I think for me, she grates me a little sometimes, and I'm like, you're supposed to know better than this at this point. You're aging. Anyways, that's all I got.
Is it
I'm
my-
looking at you.
Oh, you're looking at me?
I'm looking at you.
Yeah,
You and I haven't talked a lot about it.
I was trying to look up. For some reason, I thought Rings of Power took place even longer before Lord of the Rings. Is
It's
it
like 200
200?
And what
years,
did you
I thought.
find?
I haven't found
Is
it
it 200?
I
Oh.
don't know.
I thought it was eerily close to the way that the Game of Thrones is right now with House of the Dragon and where we are. But I could be very wrong. But I thought it was closer than I guess one would think. Maybe it's 500 years.
Yeah, because like I'm looking at this one timeline. Like the Rings of Power were forged in like 1500. The 3 rings are constructed in 1590. The 1 ring to rule them all is created in 1600. The War of Elves and Sauron ends in 1700.
So that's 200 years there.
It's oh yeah, it's if like in 3341, Sauron is defeated when the Isildur cuts the 1 ring from Sauron's finger.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is like we're talking thousands of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess then in her defense of her elvish aging, she is about right on track where she should be in her maturity level.
I guess, like, yeah, if you kind of expand that maturity amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
How long they can live.
You know,
Right.
7 years in dog years is, you know. Anyways,
Right.
like, you know, I guess that's the math you have to figure out. But I guess, but still, it's just sometimes I watch her, I'm like, but you're already like supposed to be 300 years old. Pull it together, woman. But obviously, she lives to be like 3,000 years old. So, what do I know?
No, I was gonna say, like, sorry, and I was distracted when you went to me because I was kind of looking that up. I like the show a lot. I mean, I guess this is our first time talking about it at all,
Yeah.
right, on the show. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't remember if I mentioned on here before when like trailers were coming out that I was kind of like, about this.
You
like,
were.
Yeah.
You were.
I don't know. Like we had Andor coming and we had House of the Dragon, and those are the shows that I'm like, I can't wait for these shows. Rings of Power, like, I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson. I mean, I adore it. And when I would see trailers to this, it wasn't feeling like, oh, this is going to be going back to Middle Earth. It just didn't look like that to me. But it has. Like, now I'm watching it and I'm like, nope, this does feel like I'm back in Middle Earth. And it has this perfect kind of feeling of being back there, but in show form, and it works. That was something else I think I was worried about, like doing a TV show of this. Like, how will that go? And I say that I've always been a big defender of, adapting things is the word I'm trying to find, in TV show form versus film form, you know, and yeah, so far this is working for me a lot better than I expected. I agree with you, Bobby, like, and Michelle, like the pacing, I don't know. I have no problem with the pacing whatsoever. It feels like Lord of the Rings pacing to me.
Right.
I mean, to anyone who thinks it's moving too slow, I guess it's just not your kind of show. I don't know what to say to that. Like, yeah, I had heard like that first episode in particular, like, oh, this first episode is really slow. Like, I mean, like to the point that people wouldn't watch beyond that first episode. And I'm like,
But you gotta
really?
introduce all these
And then
characters.
when I finally watched that first episode, because we were a little delayed, we were at Dragon Con the
Yeah.
weekend this dropped, so we didn't see it like right when it dropped. And I finally watched it. I was like, oh no, that was fine. Like, I was really expecting it to drag based on what I was hearing, and I
Right.
didn't find that it dragged like that at all. And I haven't found like the show drags like that. Part of me has been like, oh man, am I gonna like certain like character arcs more than others? And I actually find that I have because that happens a lot in shows. Like, you enjoy,
Right.
oh, I want to go see what these
Yeah.
people are doing, and I don't care about these people. And honestly, for me, like all of it, I'm good. Like the Harfoots, I enjoy that stuff like more than I would think, and all of it, I'm down. I like the show a lot. I remember the first episode. One of the things that kept coming to mind was like, are they almost overusing score in it though? Like it felt like everything had score behind it.
It was heavy in that first
And
episode.
and then like I don't know, maybe I've either gotten used to it or they've pulled back a little bit, but now it doesn't bother me. But I remember thinking in that
Hmm.
first episode in particular, I was like, man, like, do we need to have score behind everything? And I'm saying this as a music lover and a film score lover, and but then there's times where scenes need to just kind of breathe and not have music behind them.
Right.
And I was like,
Hmm.
man, like I feel like there is just music behind everything, and maybe that's a little not. It seemed a little unnecessary, but
I would agree that I think the first episode felt very score heavy because I think they were trying to give you the emotional impact of, especially like Galadriel going to the west on the boat, and that was really like, let's really hammer the impact of
mm,
this, and I felt like they were really trying to pull that moment, and so a lot of that episode I felt like was score heavy, and then I felt the second and third one not as much, but this third one I felt like there were times there was a lot of score in the fourth episode that we just saw. I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like it was kind of beating me over the head, but
Hmm.
no, I'm enjoying it. I will say of the episodes, the fourth episode is probably my least favorite of the four that we have seen thus far. But overall, like I'm very happy with it. And I'm with you. Like I like seeing little areas. If anything, it's interesting. I meant to mention this when we were talking about Game or not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. I think my one issue with House of the Dragon is just how centric it is to the House Targaryen. Like there's a small part of me that like wishes we could go.
you miss seeing the rest of
I
Westeros.
I liked how Game of Thrones you were
Hmm.
constantly thrown into a different house, a different area, a different realm, a different vibe, a different family. You were constantly seeing things that were kind of and all pulls together, but like you were seeing little bits and pieces. And I'm like, I know there's got to be stuff going on with House Baratheon. Obviously, there's stuff going on there. Lannister, there's stuff going on there. Like, give me even just 5 or 10 minutes in those areas every couple of episodes. Give me a little something more than them being at King's Landing. Give me them
Hmm.
there. Give me their family dynamic a little bit so I can latch on. Not really latch on. I don't want to latch on to any of those houses, but like give me a little more depth to those houses right now, because to me, in watching it, it seems they feel very throwaway. And when we know that's not the fact at all, a lot of those houses we know rise and grow and become dominant within that world, and so it's just weird how throwaway they feel. But then like in watching Rings of Power, like I love seeing how it jumps to different sections. You're getting different parts of the story that will all eventually come together. Like I'm thoroughly
Hmm.
enjoying that. Sorry, I'm ranting now.
Yeah, no
Oh,
That's
all
what
worries.
we
good.
do.
No worries.
And I did mention Andor a little bit earlier as the newcomer to the group of things to watch, and I did watch those first three episodes, and I gotta say,
Be
I'm glad
gentle.
they released three episodes. Uh,
Okay.
if I were to have just watched the first episode, by far it would be the weaker of the Rings of Power and the Game of Thrones first episode.
Hmm.
Um, and I think for me, what it comes down to is what I mentioned earlier. It was that it's okay if a show is slow or the pacing is building, but what I need in that case is to have compelling characters to grab onto in that scenario to where I can start to get invested. And I think within those first two episodes, I didn't really feel that for anyone other than Cassian. And so that to me presented a problem where there wasn't enough story going on in those first two episodes outside of what Cassian was doing and with anyone else he interacted with that you could tell might be main characters or side characters in the show, but I just didn't feel anything there until about the third episode, which is where it started to really kind of feel cohesive in a way where I was getting more into the characters and it starts to build and they introduce some more
Mm.
characters that I thought were easily right away. You just, quickly adapt and like, oh, okay, I'm interested in this character. So, um, uh, the first two it's shot well. It looks great. It's great actors and all that. It's just the first two I felt were a little slow, but then by the third episode, I was like, yes, oh, here we go. And so
Like finds its
I'm definitely
footing.
in and looking forward. Yeah, and looking forward to the rest of the series.
Nice.
Do you think like they had screened it enough to somebody that people were like, these first two episodes, you really should release all three at once? Like,
I think so. They had to have, because I
'cause
definitely think
I say that because that wasn't the
the
original
plan was the right. The original plan I think was two maybe episodes, 2 episodes on that first night, and even that would have been like maybe a hard sell. And definitely they couldn't have done one episode. I stand by that for sure. They couldn't have done one, but I'm glad they did the three for sure.
No, but I mean, I was already super curious to
Oh,
watch
yeah.
the show, but now I'm of course super curious. More curious.
Tomorrow
Yeah.
night, Thursday night.
Yes.
You get to
Yeah.
watch it Thursday night.
Tonight we're here instead of watching Endor.
Yeah.
We're here. Look at you.
Well, actually, that's kind of it, David. I don't have anything else unless
And
you got
nothing
something
else? Nothing for us? No, it's
No.
time to go.
I was gonna say I don't think I even have anything else, and I
No.
always come up with something random.
Yeah.
Really? Come on,
Well,
you got this. Bring some up. Now we should go.
Oh, I do have something random. Not that I have a lot to contribute to the random. The
Alright.
fifth season for
Handmaid's
The
Tale?
Handmaid's Tale dropped, and I haven't watched it yet, but
no.
it did. It has dropped. We are
Ah.
officially in it. So season 5 is officially in the throes of craziness, and there's only gonna
final
be a
season,
sixth.
right?
There's going to be a 6th. It's going to happen.
Okay.
That was it.
So
I
that
know.
will be the
I was
final
kinda-
season.
I thought this was going to be the final season as well, but it turns out that there's going to be another one. There was a weird like
Oh, okay.
promotion ad that they did for this last week where they went through each season. They were like, "Oh, here's this one, here's this one." They're like, "And this new one coming up is this, but then there's this." And everybody went, "Wait, what?"
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
I know. I guess they realized they couldn't wrap it all up in this next season, and so I'm not mad at that. I'm okay with that.
I don't know. Like, so that's on Hulu, right? And they drop a new episode every week. It's
Every
not like an all drop.
Wednesday, of course.
And it just started.
Hmm.
Is it today?
Last week, so I think today's like the second episode.
I mean, I don't want to, like, we do need to go. I don't want to veer way off topic, but I don't feel like as huge as that show has been, I don't feel like it's so much in the zeitgeist right now. Like, I
It's-
don't.
No,
No.
I'm with you. I agree. I think it's interesting how I feel like it's dropped off in its interest. I feel like it was really at peak around season 3.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it was really high, and season 4 was. I enjoyed season 4, but there's so much that happens in season 4 to the point that it's almost like, oh, let me digest this. Wait, what just occurred? And like it's jarring almost. And so it's curious to see how, season 5 is going to go. Yeah, the other episode just dropped. Oh, they dropped 2 last week. They dropped the first 2 last week, and they're dropping 1. So episode 3 goes out today.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess we all kind of thought season 5 was going to be it. And then they did this weird promo last week, and they were like, and then in season 6, it was like, I thought season 5 was it. So I guess they clearly feel like they can't wrap it up in this season, which is interesting. It makes me go, well, what the hell are they going to do in this season? Because it's like, I feel like each season always kind of ends with the world on fire. And I don't know. I'm still enjoying The Handmaid's Tale, and I'm actually looking forward to at some point when I can sit and watch what will be 3 episodes that have just dropped for season 5. So, yeah. Anyways, Handmaid's Tale
Handmaid's Tale's back.
is back. The craziness is the crazy dystopianness is back.
Well, yeah, I guess we're going to wrap things up and get on out of here. As always, we'd love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure to leave some questions and comments down below. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever we go live or post any other videos in the future. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find us on various social media accounts. You can find links to all of those in the show notes, either on YouTube or wherever you find the podcasts. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening.